Welcome, everybody.
Great. Yes, well, welcome everyone. It's so good to see everybody's faces and hear voices on our first Vibe Tribe session of 2026 in this new year. And we're really excited to have Barbara back, which DJ is going to introduce her. But before we jump into everything, just wanted to share we've got an exciting lineup of speakers and topics for this year that are almost done shaping up. So I've been behind the scenes working on those, and you'll see more on that soon. We are also changing the format a little bit. So you'll experience in this session, the first 20 minutes is much more presentation style. We're recording it, we'll share it out afterwards for folks who can't join. And then we'll stop the recording and invite discussion in, and that won't be um, saved or anything like that. So please bring, the honesty, all of that. Well, make sure to return the recording off soon. And yeah, if you have ideas, questions, thoughts after this or for future sessions, I'd love to hear from you. Please send a note to Lauren at pyramidresource.com. And again, like DJ said, the purpose of this is really to grow our community of coaches and build that island of sanity. So we're excited to kick off for this year. And DJ doesn't need much of an introduction. Many of you know her, but master coach, wonderful teacher, and dear friend. DJ, turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. And Lauren has been with us now for a little over a year in helping us shape the offerings. Lauren was the director of coach training for Red Hat University, which is a technology company. And so she comes with a lot of grounding and coaching, and we're thrilled that she's been partnering with us. And she's been around our home for a long time. Barbara Biziou, I met a number of years ago, actually 15 years ago, when Laura Berman Fortgang, who's also one of the elder coaches, along with me and a handful of others, in New York City, said, "You've got to meet my friend Barbara Biziou. You guys are tuned to the same frequency." And I think it is a joy frequency, right, Barbara? So I reached out, and at the time, Laura and I were doing a little show called Grits and Matzo Balls on the podcasting, the only podcasting available at that time. And so that was fun, and Barbara was a frequent guest on that. But one of the things I'm going to tell you a little bit about her background. You can read more about her, but when 9/11 hit, so this has been longer than 15 years ago. When 9/11 hit, I called Barbara and got her out of a swimming pool in Florida at her mom's house, where she was visiting, and just said, "I need you for my team." And at that time, I was the president of the International Coach Federation, and we were creating a heart-to-heart conversation for coaches around the world, to really just be there to anchor. The board was there, anchoring presence to have people check in and say what was on their mind and hearts. And Barbara did such a beautiful job with our team that translated to a lot of other things that we've done together for now many years. So I'll never forget that, and just the presence that you embody in the world. So you guys can read more about her. She's the author of Joy of Ritual, the author of Joy of Family Ritual. She's been at this. If somebody opens a show in New York City, they bring her in to do ritual, to ground great energy in the space. So she's been doing that and working in organizations. She takes people on journeys to Egypt and all sorts of sacred places. She's an interfaith minister. I could go on and on and on, but I want us to spend some time today cultivating joy. So, Barbara, what did I miss that you want to make sure they know about you?
What do they miss? Basically, I've mixed my corporate because I did a whole bunch of corporate stuff in TV. So I mix it all together in a big soup
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
kind of pull out what we need at the moment. I think that's really what this time is calling for, is being grounded enough to pull different resources together and see what you need in the moment.
That's perfect. So I'm going to go through a couple of slides that are placeholders, because I want to take you guys behind the scene into what's been happening here. Um, and hang on. I want to start with a story about this week's images. And if you look on the left-hand side of this page, um, you'll see that this is the coaster that a friend of mine gave me, goodness, 20 years ago, that says, "I'm currently experiencing life at several WTFs an hour." And if you go back through the week and through how we have experienced news, the geopolitical pressures around the world, but just it's just kind of a mess. If we look at that, the frequency of what we are encountering or bumping up against has its impact on us. It always has, it always will. And so our choices are always in recalibrating. And I have to say, what we use each other as a coaching community or an island of sanity for is this recalibration. So we are the people that pick up the phone with each other and go, what's that? We're not above it, right? And we're not beyond it. It's like this stuff impacts all of us. But our job, if we all believe, and most of us do who are called into coaching, that this is our time to serve, to truly serve the world and other human beings as we create a new conversation around leadership. That when you bump up against this WTF, it's an invitation for something. The other image that has been so prevalent in North Carolina this week and in our home is that the venerable monks who started in Fort Worth, Texas, almost 90 days ago, had been walking on foot, some barefoot, for 2,300 miles from Fort Worth to Washington, D.C. And as they have gone through places like Georgia and South Carolina, now in North Carolina, they're creating a lot of followership. And I've talked to two people in the past 2 days who didn't know anything about this. And so that's how much we're kind of compartmentalizing our news stories. But the thing that's so striking about this for me is when they were going through South Carolina and I began to pick up just their pictures and the stuff that I'm following in their social network, I could feel their energy. So most of us who are intuitive empaths who are in this coaching space, if we tune in, we can feel what's going on around us. And sometimes that's a gift and sometimes not so much, right, Barbara?
Yeah.
So the presence that they've had is truly joyful. And you will see by the look on their faces, they do this one step at a time with their Aloka dog, who is a rescue dog who walks joyfully with them. Um, and when people on social have asked them about what about the snow and the ice that's coming into the East Coast, they're like, don't worry about us. We have been well cared for at every stop. We have all the clothes we need. We have a place to go with someone who's following us with a big van should we need it. But our mission isn't to make this easy. It is to remember that peace occurs one step at a time. And it is their commitment and their joy in doing this and being able to bring attention to peace at this critical time that has been grounding for me. Barbara, anything you want to say about that? Because I know you've watched them as well from where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, they just put the dog in a rehab because the dog can't walk anymore.
Yeah.
But what struck me from what you said is that we're talking about joy, but the inner part of joy is really peace.
Mm.
So as we have peace inside, we can then bring the joy out as well.
Great. So maybe this would be a good place for us to go into one of your beautiful rituals for just grounding ourselves and for a couple of minutes go into breathing together, knowing that if we pay attention not only to our breath, but to the rhythm of this in the room, that we might pick that frequency up.
Beautiful. I love to. So everyone, just take a few deep breaths and gently close your eyes. And as you breathe, I want you to imagine you could just breathe into your heart center, which is the seat of all transformation. So gently breathing in, letting your shoulders drop. And give yourself permission to let go of any tension you're holding on to right now. Just like you're deleting a computer, just give it permission to go. And breathing in again now, this time to the count of 2. And breathing out through your mouth through the count of 4. Thinking of one thing that made you smile recently. Feel it, see it, be there. And one more breath. And as you exhale this time, imagine you could bring that feeling of lightness into the space into our time together. Knowing that this feeling is available to you at any time. And then gently open your eyes and come back to the room.
Thank you, Barbara. So one of the things that I've been doing, and it's a reminder for me to do, and you all might try, is to ground yourself, to remember that we are frequency, we are electromagnetic and part of our energy field. And I walk outside barefoot just for a minute or two and put my feet on the planet. And that's one of the first joy frequencies that I will offer as we talk a little bit about this. So I love writing articles with other people. So those of you who follow anything that we're doing through Pyramid Resource Group, you might see that I often collaborate with other writers or other people. And I asked Barbara if she would do this with me for Choice Magazine, our friend Gary Schleifer, and she said absolutely, she would love to. So I asked her to give me a series of rituals that folks could use, right? And that we could use as we cultivate conversations that ask people to shift, right? To reframe situations and to look at what their next focus is. And tuning into the energy of joy brought me back to the work by David Hawkins called Power versus Force and his map of consciousness. And the reason this resonated with me and maybe with you all, I have a radio station background, broadcast background. And when I first went into radio, I went out of managing a clothing boutique, a designer clothing boutique in Winston-Salem. And I knew zip about the back end of what was going on with the radio station. And so they kept talking about the height of the towers and why that was important and all that with this radio station. So I got the engineer out for a drink and I said, I need to know why that's important. And so he pulled out the maps of the frequencies for the AM and FM radio stations, and he showed me how the frequency, the radio frequencies, the megahertz travel over the terrain of land, if they're amplitude modulation, AM, or frequency modulation, FM, and how it travels, that frequency travels over the line of horizon around the planet. And I thought, I had this like goosebump sensation, which I can still recall. And it's like, you know what? That's what travels through us. If we have enough metal in our mouths, we could probably pick up our favorite stations, right? That we are constantly bombarded by these vibrational energies, and we have our own vibrational energy, and it is encased in, transmitted through whatever we are holding the energy around. So when we're feeling grief, we're transmitting grief. When we are feeling anxiety or WTFs every day, we are transmitting that. And there's a collective transmission around those things right now. It has its own energy. And so when I saw this map, I like glommed onto it, and we've taught from it in several ways. Those of you who are here as alumni of HCI, you probably didn't see this because this I teach, when we're teaching sort of the spiritual components of what we do in the energy work. But I think it's integrated and it needs to be. So I want you just to notice this and actually capture what word captures your current emotion. If you had to look at the week and capture just one word, throw it in the chat room for Lauren to kind of help us figure out what's in the space. If joy is a place we're calibrating back to, where are you starting this week? What has, as my mama used to say, what has a hold on you? So looking at this, what do you see, Lauren? Where are people?
Yeah, they're coming in. We've got peace, willingness, courage, two more peace, acceptance.
Good. So we have coaches in the room.
For
If you
sure.
looked outside this room, though, Barbara, if you looked outside, or if you think about perhaps how you are encountering what's going on in the world around you, how would that change? If you
Yeah.
looked at being a leader, many of you are leaders in the hospital systems that you manage. What are you encountering every day? The coaching community can come from a place of, we get up in the morning, we can have our cup of coffee. But what about the rest of you? those of you who are just getting into coaching or adapting to coaching skills and your leadership roles, what are you balancing? Where's the tension for you? So what are those words? Anybody angry, pissed off, can't believe it, outraged, grieving what you feel we've lost? Anybody heartbroken? And if not you, then perhaps you look at the shift that your clients need. So I want you just to notice where joy lives. It lives above love. And Barbara, I'd like for you to comment on that. It's like the frequency of joy is right there with peace and enlightenment. And after enlightenment, nobody knows what the frequencies are because we haven't gotten there yet. But why would you say that? Why would joy, in your opinion, be in that space just above love, even? What's
For
hard about
me,
love?
yeah, to me, joy also has a component of gratitude.
Mhm.
That you're really, and yes, everybody's writing in their gratitude journal and all of that. However, when you're bringing it into your body, and I know we've talked about this, DJ, when we make it somatic, when we make it real, then it lifts it up to a higher level. So yes, you can love anything from your child to your favorite ice cream. But what really brings you joy is this giant smile, almost a laughter. You could feel the expansion of your body coming out. And that really lifts you up. I mean, as you said, it's contagious. You walk into a room and people are just joyful and laughing. All of a sudden, everybody is lifted up immediately. I watch it. I was in a doctor's office the other day and someone was playing a really great dance song. And all of a sudden, you saw everyone who had come in scared or anxious or overwhelmed start to smile, or maybe they're moving a little bit, and they didn't even realize it, but it just opens something up.
Great. Thank you for that. And just know that it can be a choice, but how do we get to it, right? What are the rituals that get us there? So we've put the article out with the invitation for this day, and you might have questions about that, which we'll get to in a little bit. But we gave you a list of rituals. And Barbara, what's your favorite ritual for cultivating joy whenever people are in a place where it's doesn't feel possible?
For me, again, it's the somatic gratitude. So it's not just writing down, I'm grateful. It's like I lift my arms up and I go, I am so grateful that I could be with all of you today. And I imagine like I'm pulling it in, and I am so joyful, that I could play today or I could move. And it's like the physicality of saying it. And also, I'm a big believer in color. So I think when you have things like, orange around you or bright colors or even scents like cutting up some lemons and oranges and vanilla, smell it. It just lifts you up. So I like to use the multidimensional parts of all of it. And it's easy. It's not hard to do.
Right. So, Barbara, we want to put them into a breakout. But before we do that, I want to stop and see if we can get everybody sort of in the room where it happens, right?
Right.
Let them come online with us now. And Lauren, we can stop this now. Yeah, the recording. And for those of you who are just watching this back as a recording, we welcome you to join us for more of these along the way. And we'll be telling you how soon.